Welcome to Middle Math Academy, Integers, Opposites, and Absolute Value Level Number 1. This is part of our Integers, Opposite, and Absolute Value Differentiated series where we have 5 levels of challenge for each topic. Let's get started. Our learning targets today are I can use keywords to write integers involving elevation, money, and temperature. I can explain the difference between opposites and absolute value, and I can use a number line to determine distance between 2 points. Before we get started, rate yourself on these learning targets. 1 is the least confident, and 5 is the most confident. At the end of the lesson, we'll come back and rate ourselves again. Our opening says number the number line -5 to 5. So you can see in the middle of our number line, we have 0. To the right of 0 are our positive numbers. So to the right of 0, we're just going to write 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Make sure you're writing this down. And to the left of 0 are our negative numbers. So the first number will be -1, -2, -3, -4, -5. Notice how 1 and -1 are both one space from 0. 2 and -2 are two spaces from 0. And we'll talk a little bit more about how that applies to opposites. Let's get started with some notes. Our first note today, and make sure you're writing with me, are integers are positive or negative whole numbers. So 6, -8, 12, those are all integers. Now, elevation is the distance above or below sea level. So if you're scuba diving, you are below sea level. And if you are hiking a mountain, you're most likely above sea level. So let's talk about some more key words for positive and negative numbers, but also for 0. So let's start with 0. If you are at sea level, we consider that 0. Make sure you're writing this. In terms of temperature, 0 degrees. And then par is in golf. In case you haven't played golf, you might see questions like this. Par is 0. So now let's focus on elevation first, under negative. Some key words for elevation that are negative are below sea level and descending, going down. Elevation positive keywords are above sea level and ascending, going up. Remember, you can always pause the video if you need more time. When we talk about money, withdrawals, that's taking money out, a signal for negatives. Loss, owe, and debt are all keywords for negative numbers. On the positive end, we have deposit. I always remember that I can almost see the word positive in deposit. Putting money in your account, gaining money, and profit. Those are all keywords for positive numbers associated with money. And then for temperature, we have decrease or going down, below 0 degrees. And positive temperature keywords are increase and above 0 degrees. Pause the video if you need more time, and then we'll do a few examples. At the bottom of page 1, it says, write an integer to describe each situation, underline keywords. So if I'm looking at example A, a person scuba diving 20 feet below sea level. Okay, well, I know below sea level is a signal for negative numbers or negative integers. So I'm going to go ahead and underline those keywords. And since it's 20 feet below sea level, I'm going to write -20. Example B says a person at sea level. Well, I know at sea level is 0. So I'm going to underline my keywords and then write 0. Go ahead and complete C, D, E, and F, then come back to the video. For C, you should have underlined above sea level keywords for positive numbers and written 53. Example D, a deposit is putting money into your account, so positive 36. Example E, Kayla owes her mom, so that is negative 28. And example F, if it dropped 6 degrees, that means it is negative. If your teacher wants you to, go ahead and get their initials for page 1, and then let's move on to page 2. On page 2, we're practicing the same thing. So you're going to go ahead and complete this page on your own. And then once again, if your teacher wants you to, go ahead and get their initials. Take a look at the top of page 3. Make sure you're writing down these notes with me. Negative numbers are to the left of 0 on a horizontal number line or below 0 on a vertical number line. Positive numbers are to the right of 0 or above 0 on a vertical number line. The more negative a number, the less it is. So the easiest way I think to think about this is like owing money. So you have less money if you owe someone $100 versus owing them $1. Negative 100 is less than negative 1. Negative 50 is less than negative 10, because if you're in debt $50, you owe more money than if you just owed $10. Our next note is plotting a point on a number line. If you ever hear that, it just means putting a dot on the number line. And then distance is always positive. For example, if I was going on a 5-mile run south, I would never say I went on a negative 5-mile run. So distance is always positive. Let's take a look at page 3, example A. Plot 4 and negative 3 on the number line below. What is the distance between the 2 points? Well, I know plot just means put a dot. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to put a dot at 4 and negative 3. And then when we're determining the distance, one way we can count is by making super neat loops where between each number is 1 space. So it's really important to be neat here. Okay, so when I count the distance, and I'll zoom in here, I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, whoops, 7. So notice there's 1 space between each number. We have 7 loops. So the distance between these 2 points is 7. Another way you can think about this is 4 is 4 spaces from 0, and negative 3 is 3 spaces from 0, and 4 plus 3 is 7. Or you can just count. Let's go ahead and try the next one together, and then you'll do C and D on your own. Okay, so practice B on your own first, and then we'll check it together. B, we're plotting 1 and negative 1. Okay, and then I can see that these are 1, 2 spaces apart. So you should have 2 for example B. Go ahead and complete examples C and D on your own. This video will not go over those answers. Let's take a look at a vertical number line. Example E, plot negative 3 and 1. Okay, so we're going to treat it the exact same way, and I'll zoom in because this is kind of a small one. So we have negative 3 and 1. Negative 3 is below 0. 1 is above 0. And then I'll do super neat loops. 1, 2, 3, 4. Distance is 4. Go ahead and complete the rest of this page on your own. Then, if your teacher wants you to, get your teacher's initials and come back to the video for the next page. 2 numbers are considered opposites if they are the same distance from 0 on a number line. They're just on opposite sides. So for example, 5 and negative 5 are opposites because they're both 5 units from 0. Make sure you're writing with me. It says blank and negative 2 are opposites. Well, 2 and negative 2 are opposites because they're both 2 units from 0. And I want you to fill this in on the number line to the right as well. So if we have negative 2 and 2, we can see that 2 is 2 spaces from 0, and negative 2 is 2 spaces from 0. They are opposites. And then our last note, 3 and negative 3 are opposites because they're both 3 units from 0. So in this section below, you're going to write the opposite of each number. So if it said 7 here, okay, yours says something different. But if it did, then I would write negative 7 as the opposite. So opposites can be positive or negative. They are the same distance apart from 0. This video won't go over the entire page, but just to make sure you're on the right track, for the first column, when you're writing the opposite, you should have gotten negative 1, 3, 15, negative 7, and 14.2. So go ahead and check your work for the first column. In this next section, you're giving your own example of numbers that are opposites. And then let's take a look at example A. Label the number line below negative 5 to 5. Okay, so we did that on page 1. You know how to do that. And then you're going to plot 5 and its opposite. So you're going to plot 2 numbers. First plot 5, and then its opposite. Go ahead and finish the rest of this page. Then check in with your teacher. Let's take a look at the top of page 5. Absolute value means distance from 0 and is represented with these 2 lines around a number. Absolute value is always positive. So if you see those two lines around a number, it means it's positive. Here's an example. The absolute value of -8 is 8, positive 8. The absolute value of positive 15 is 15. Absolute value is always positive. So if we look at these examples down here, the absolute value of -6 is 6. The absolute value of 24 is 24. Anytime I see these lines, it makes a number positive because it just means distance from 0. Go ahead and complete the rest of these on your own, then come back to the video. I won't go over all of these, but the absolute value of -24 is still positive 24. The absolute value of -13 and 25 hundredths is 13 and 25 hundredths. All of your answers should be positive. This next section says in each problem below, underline the number that has the greater value. You could also circle your answer. Okay, so I'll do a couple with you. The absolute value of -1 is 1, and the absolute value of 2 is 2. So which one is greater? 2. Let's do another one. The absolute value of -5 is 5. The absolute value of -4 is 4. And so which one's greater? The absolute value of -5. And you could also underline it if you'd rather do that. So go ahead and complete the rest of these, then come back to the video. I'll finish checking this column with you. Okay, so this one has lines around it, so it's absolute value. This one does not. Okay, so what's greater, 3 or 5? It would just be 5. For the next one, you should have circled the absolute value of 12. Could have also underlined it. And this one, the absolute value of 4 is 4, and that is greater than -4. Positives are always greater than negatives. Okay, so we're going to continue practicing that in the next section. It says order the numbers below from least to greatest. Remember, the more negative a number is, we're going to fill in the less it is. So go ahead and complete the rest of this page, then check in with your teacher if they want you to. Go ahead and complete all of page 6, then come back to the video. This video won't go over all of these problems, but we'll go over a few of them. Common misconception problem A says, KJ says that 6 and -1 are 5 units apart. Is KJ correct or incorrect? Explain. Well, KJ is incorrect. 6 is 6 spaces from 0. -1 is 1 space from 0. So 6 and -1 are 7 spaces apart. B says, Edward says opposites are always positive. Josh says opposites can be positive or negative. Who is correct? Justify your answer by providing an example. Well, in this one, Josh is correct. Opposites can be positive or negative. Example, the opposite of 3 is -3. It's okay if you didn't have the same example. And then C says, Kayla says the absolute value of 12 is -12. Is Kayla correct? So Kayla is incorrect. The absolute value of 12 is 12. Absolute value is always positive because distance is always positive. So the video will not go over the rest of this page. Make sure you fill in the debrief. Okay, so in your own words, what did you learn today? How much effort did you put in during class? 1 is the lowest, 5 is the highest. And then what do you think is a common misconception or a common mistake a student might make with today's lesson? Once you finish page 6, you're going to go back to page 1. At the beginning of this lesson, we rated ourselves 1 through 5. Go ahead and rate yourself after the lesson for our learning targets. Thank you for joining us today at Middle Math Academy, where we practice integers, opposites, and absolute value, challenge level number 1. This is part of our differentiated series where we have 5 levels of challenge for every topic. If you're looking for any additional practice, make sure to check out levels 2, 3, 4, or 5. Have a wonderful day.